that moves you. It could only be one place. Universal Broadcasting Network. Tune in at ubnradio.com.
Shut up, just shut up, shut up, 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 shut up, just shut up, shut up.
That applause. Thank you, John. Welcome to Shut Up. You're here today with Deborah, Zara, Kobylt, and Linda Hoffman.
Hello.
Anna and Dorothy are somewhere, I think, out in Malibu or somewhere in Silver Lake. I don't know where they are. So we're here with Linda Hoffman today. And we have kind of an interesting show today because a lot's happened to me on a personal level this week. And I will talk about that a little bit later because it's been so new that it took me a little while to get it all together because I wasn't even sure I was going to talk about it today. So we'll talk about that in a little while. But joining us in a few minutes when he finally calls in is Assemblyman Bob Bonta. How do you say his name?
Bonta.
Yeah, and
I believe
he's got a whole thing about pot, right?
Right.
So, yeah, we'll talk about that in a minute. But you said you had something that pissed you off that you wanted to talk about.
I like to gripe. And
come on.
I know it's hard to believe.
What do you mean you like to gripe?
It's hard to believe. But I want to talk about manners.
Yeah.
And how
I have good manners.
You do.
Yeah.
But most people don't, I've learned. Mm-hmm. And I don't know if it's just being in the acting world that my kids do, as you know.
Yeah, her kids are professional actors, and she spends her time driving them around all day.
It's a real fun life. But so this week, you asked me what was on my mind, and it was my daughter books a national commercial.
Yeah.
We're on our way to the fitting. And I get a call from the manager saying, she's been pulled. So here I have this 12-year-old in the back seat crying her eyes out. It's just bad manners, and it's just, can you explain why?
How do you tell a kid like
It's
that,
terrible.
a 12-year-old?
So, of course, I went ballistic. And I said, they're not doing this anymore. We're done. And I'm like, I can't say the client because I don't want to badmouth them. But I was like, we're not buying anything from them. I went absolutely crazy.
That's got to be so hard for her, though.
It was. She's fine today. But it's just, the manners. You could apologize and say why. I just think it's so hard for kids that don't understand what happened. She wasn't even on set yet. So that's my beef. I don't like bad manners.
Okay. Do you tell her, if you will, the truth, not that you even know, or like they pulled the commercial, don't worry about it, it wasn't you? Like, what do you do?
Well, I speak the truth. I think kids need to learn the truth, especially in an adult business. Mm-hmm. It's better to just learn it, move on, and learn. There's a lot of good things, there's a lot of bad things. You just have to roll with it. Don't get too excited when something good happens. Don't get upset when something doesn't happen. In that business, you have to be even in your emotions. So I don't know if that's the right thing to do.
Did they tell you what happened? I'd love to know.
I do know what happened. They, I can't really say. They just, someone higher up in the chain changed their mind about
the direction or her
ethnicity. So, that happens. But she, it's never. My manager's like, this hadn't happened before. I'm glad it happened on my kids' watch. So, anyway, we've been dealing with that all week, which is nothing compared to what you're going to tell us about. It's almost embarrassing to compare. But manners.
Everything matters. I look at it that way. Sometimes I have issues going on in my life and they seem like they're not important, but I know they're important to me, even if somebody else is having something a little more difficult. And you're right. This week I'm having something that happened that was difficult. It's been difficult to process, and I'll talk about that in a little bit. But do we have our first guest on yet? He's not even on.
Oh, we might be talking about pot ourselves, even though we don't know anything about it.
I don't smoke pot. So this whole issue is about an assemblyman who wants to regulate how pot is distributed in California.
Right.
So I know that he's got a beef about apparently, from what I understand, these pot dispensaries really are not for the sick. It's just only a small portion, isn't it? Like 5 or 10% of the people who really go in there are apparently it's for medicinal purposes. Right. The rest of them are going in there and they're going in and saying, "Oh my God, my back hurts," when it's really not true.
Injuries.
And they're getting a prescription and they're going in there and they're buying some joints or whatever they do. Mm-hmm. Or do they buy it raw and then they stick it in the brownies? How does that work?
I think that's part of the assemblyman's issue creating the bill was to keep it safe, because people that really need it, they need to have, safety measures. They don't want something laced with something and they could die from it. So that's why he's proposing this regulation, safety and regulation. So, this has been in the news since 1996 when it was passed.
Oh, he's on. He's on right now. Okay. Assemblyman.
Hi, Rob Bonta, California State Assembly member. How are you?
Oh, thank you for calling in. Where are you calling in from?
Sacramento.
Oh, wonderful. You're here
The
with
state capital.
Deborah Kobylt and Linda Hayes. So thanks for joining us.
Hi, Deborah and Linda. How are you?
Great. How are you?
So why is this? First of all, I'm going to have you introduce this bill, and then tell us why is this such a big deal for you? You're a pot smoker. Your families are pot smokers. I mean, you got to tell me what's going on here. I need some background.
You got it. This is AB 266, a bill that would create comprehensive statewide regulations for the entire life cycle of medical cannabis. And the reason it's important is because back in 1996, we passed the Compassionate Use Act, the voters of California did, Proposition 215. And for nearly 20 years, we have had no effective regulations for how medical cannabis in the state of California will be produced from the agricultural component, the growing, and through the retail component in the dispensaries. And so it is more than high time that we do so. These regulations were needed yesterday. They were needed the day before. They've been needed for years. And there have been a number of attempts that have tried and failed in the state legislature to get this done. And this year, with AB 266, we have the most momentum and the most support from stakeholders for a medical cannabis bill of this nature than has ever occurred in the history of the state legislature. And so it's critical that it happened this year and that we finally, once and for all, get appropriate reasonable regulations for the medical cannabis industry in place in the state of California.
So basically it's to keep it safe because there's some dispensaries that are not producing or selling safe marijuana. Is that the gist of it? Or what's the main points of your bill?
That's a huge component of it. There's multiple areas where we'll make progress, starting with the growers. And there are a lot of environmental issues right now. Water sources are being diverted and are drying up. Non-cannabis crops are suffering. Wildlife is suffering because of the illegal grows. There's also the safety of the product itself, sometimes with herbicides in it, pesticides, mold. It's not properly tested. So for the safety of our patients and consumers, there's no strong quality assurances that the product is what it's supposed to be. There's illegal diversion of the product to non-medical.
Okay, that's like the big thing,
uses.
right? I read somewhere that, people can just go next door to the doctor or, and just say, oh my God, my back or whatever's going on. They get their prescription, they go next door and they get their pot. Is that basically that's what's happening with at these dispensaries, isn't it?
I've heard some of the same stories. And this bill seeks to create a uniform floor across the state of California for how medical cannabis is moved from growing to the dispensary, and then how it is dispensed to ensure that it's dispensed properly.
So then, what does it do?
And safely.
Like how do you regulate it? What are you proposing?
So there's the environmental component that we talked about. There's also the testing for patients, and then there's requirements for security at the cannabis dispensary locations, and also requirements that the medicinal marijuana, the medical cannabis, be tracked from the growth until the sale, so we can follow it along the process, make sure it's not diverted, make sure it's not used for an inappropriate reason that's non-medical. So there are regulations throughout this bill that ensure that the medical cannabis is used only for the medical purposes, not for illegal purposes. And this is really important because, as you know, while the voters of the state of California nearly 20 years ago legalized the use of medicinal marijuana and medical cannabis in our state, the federal government looks at this very differently and even sees medical cannabis as illegal in their eyes. But they've issued something called the Cole Memo, which states that if for states in the union who implement strong, effective state regulatory structures, the federal government will essentially back off and not enforce their view of medical cannabis by doing raids and taking other steps to prohibit the use of medical cannabis in the state. So this is really important for the state of California.
And I think, something to mention that there's some families. Now, I'm not a pot smoker, so I was like, I don't care about this really in terms of me in my world. But then I started to speak about it to some people I know, and they might have a child that has ADD or some issues, and it's really helped them. There's been studies. So who am I to judge?
Right,
I mean,
but
I think it's
but those people can get a proper prescription.
Right,
and
that's what I mean.
Right, Assemblyman. I mean, they can get a proper prescription and go to these places and then get their marijuana. Right.
right.
Yes, there
So
are
those people
are
wouldn't be affected.
real,
No, they
strong,
wouldn't.
true medical components.
But I'm
to
saying if it's
cannabis,
safe.
and for those who need it, they can seek it
Right.
and get a prescription and use it.
Right.
But what brought this on for you? Because this is obviously close to your heart. Is there something that really touched you? Somebody that you know, or just there's got to be studies done out there that's saying that people are running out there, smoking their pot, throwing it in their brownies, and it's unsafe. It's unsafe, and it's unsafe for the public. I mean, there's got to be something personal involved here. Can you, give me a story or something like that? Well, it's true.
I don't know if I have the personal story that you're looking for. I mean, for me, I'm the chair of the Assembly Health Committee, and to me, we have to have some safety protections involved so that if folks are going to be using medical cannabis in the state of California, it needs to be safe for them to use. It needs to be used for the appropriate reason, which is for a medical reason. It can't have, as I mentioned, mold or herbicides or pesticides, things that put our consumers and patients in danger. I'm also the assembly member for District 18, which includes Oakland, Alameda, and San Leandro, and Oakland has been one of the leaders in the dispensary world
Sure
for
they
medical
have.
cannabis.
Where does the majority of the cannabis, I don't like calling it cannabis, it just sounds odd,
It
but
does
where does
sound kind
a majority of it come from? Can you tell us that? And then,
Is it grown locally,
yeah.
or is it shipped in? Or is that a whole nother issue?
No, it's grown in the northern counties of California.
Okay.
The Emerald Triangle is what it's referred to colloquially as, and almost all of the medical cannabis in the state of California is grown in 3 or 4 counties in North County.
But you're saying
Northern California.
But you're saying you would make sure there's no mold on it or pesticides. So are you saying there's no regulations currently, or you want tighter controls on it?
There's no regulations currently
Wow.
regarding product testing, regarding accurate
dangerous.
labeling, regarding packaging, regarding transportation to prevent illegal diversion, regarding safety for patients. So
There's something
we've needed
so
to do
wrong
this
about
for a long
that.
time.
Yeah, we have. There's something so wrong about that. If I mean, look, any drug that you get from the drugstore has gone through so many
Right.
regulations, and you're telling me it goes from the fields to a dispensary? Is that correct? It just goes from one to the other. There's nothing in the middle.
Right. I mean, it has to get transported. So
Oh.
it gets transported, but not in a regulated manner. It doesn't go through a central clearinghouse, for example, where the product can be tested for quality and then can be packaged and labeled accurately. That doesn't happen right now, and that must happen. And that's one of the key areas where this bill will make progress.
It sounds like you're getting closer. I did read that the previous bills failed, and it was argued by law enforcement, which I'm not understanding why they wouldn't be for this bill.
Would you
Can you
explain that?
summarize that? I mean, it's just strange to me that they are opposed.
So law enforcement is not opposed. Just to
Okay.
be clear, there have been prior versions of medical cannabis bills that have moved through the legislature where law enforcement was opposed. But I had a bill of my own, AB 34, and there was another bill, AB 266, that were both moving separately through the legislature this year, and we've combined our efforts into one single vehicle, AB 266, and the police chiefs of California support it. The Police Officers Association had supported the AB 34 prior version, and we're hoping that they'll come on board as well. This bill creates stronger regulations for what is a mostly unregulated industry. And I believe that is a compelling reason why law enforcement should be supportive of this bill. So far, law enforcement has been supportive of this bill, and we believe that more law enforcement groups will be coming in support.
So
as
where
we
does
move
this
forward through the
stand?
process.
Where does it stand now? It seems as though this one in particular has been getting the most attention and the most support this round. So where do you stand with this now?
It has, and thank you for that observation. This bill has the most momentum and support of any bill of this kind ever in the history of the California State Legislature. We started the bill in the Assembly side, and we just moved the bill off of the Assembly floor and over to the Senate with a vote of 62-8, an overwhelmingly supportive vote with bipartisan support, both Democrats and Republicans. Assembly members from all over the state of California, northern, southern, the counties where the product is grown, the counties and districts where the product is sold. And so we've moved in over to the Senate with a ton of momentum. And we hope to just continue to build on that momentum as we move the bill through the process. And we're very hopeful that we'll get this bill on the governor's desk for his consideration and hopefully his signature.
And what's the timeline for that?
Bills need to be out of this bill needs to be off of the Senate and onto the governor's desk no later than September 11th, which is the end of the legislative session, and then the governor will have through the month of October to sign bills.
Mm-hmm. And has he spoken? Has he spoken about it? What are his thoughts?
He's starting to engage with our team of stakeholders, and that's in the early process right now. So we don't have a full sense of all of his potential concerns and areas of support. So we're working through that process now.
Mm-hmm. Okay. I think this is terrific. Will you keep us updated on where this is going? And if you're looking for public support, is there anywhere where the people can go and look up more information or, just get behind you and support this bill?
Absolutely. We have the bill is available on www.leginfo.ca.gov.
Okay.
And we also have my own website for Assemblymember Rob Bonta, Assembly District 18, and letters of support for AB 266 are welcome for those who support this bill, which will strengthen regulations for the medical cannabis industry in California.
Okay.
Great.
Thank you very much.
Good luck.
Assemblyman Rob Bonta. Am I saying your name correctly?
You are. Thank you so much. Deborah and Linda, an honor to be on the show with you.
Thank
you so much, and you'll keep us updated, right?
We will. We'll
Okay.
let you know how it goes as we move through the process.
All right.
Fantastic.
Assemblyman, thanks so much for being on, and we'll talk to you next time. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Thank you much for the time. I
Okay,
really
great.
enjoyed it. Take
I
care.
thought it was interesting.
Bye-bye.
I really did. I don't know. Wow, we have a large audience today.
I guess people like their
There
marijuana.
is such a giant group of people behind. They're on the other side, so the people looking with the cameras
Woo.
can't see them. But I think we're going to take a quick little break, and then I'm going to come back with something that happened with me and my family this week, and we'll talk about that. Okay, thank you.
Just fill my arms the way you fill my dreams, the dreams that you inspire with every sweet desire. Be my love, and with your kisses set me burning. One kiss is all I need to seal my fate. And hand in hand, we'll find love's promised land. There'll be no one but you for me eternally. If you will be my love. And hand in hand, we'll find love's promised land. There'll be no
Tell me when we're on.
but you
Pardon?
for me
We're on? I'm going to have you bring Mario Lanza down a little bit. It's very hard to talk with him. Oh.
He's gone.
He's gone. See ya, Mario Lanza. Okay, we're playing a clip of Mario Lanza, and we have a photo of my dad up there right now. And that is my dad, Tony Zara, and he loved Mario Lanza. So why do I say loved? Because my dad passed away on Monday, 2 days ago, and it's
Very
really
difficult.
hard. It's difficult. We've all lost someone close to us. I lost my mom just a couple of years ago. We've all lost someone, a mom, a dad, aunt, uncle, God forbid anyone younger than we are. But it was really difficult, and I didn't quite expect it. You know, my mom passed suddenly because she fell and hit her head. That was a shock. And I used to say, gosh, I wonder what it would be like to have someone and watch them pass away. And that's what happened on Monday. And we do have a grief counselor that we're going to talk to in a minute. But before then, I also want to address what you've been through.
Right.
Your dad passed away suddenly on you as well, I think.
Right. You know, it's just like your mother. I think it's especially hard for you right now because it will be anyway, but you lost your mother 2 years ago. That's not a long time. And then to have both parents on the other side is very, I don't know. It's going to happen to me, so it's got to be very challenging.
Well, what happened was, as soon as she passed, he became ill, and I've become a caregiver to him almost since that day forward, in and out of hospitals and caring for him, and on life support, off life support, on life support, on dialysis, back and forth. But he had his mostly his facilities with him.
Oh, yeah.
So we kept him around and kind of propped him up and took him wherever we wanted to. And there's me with my dad. I don't know what you've got up right now. That's me in our kitchen. That was not long ago, just a couple of weeks ago. There he is at the nursing home. He fell about a week ago. He was playing bingo. So, you know, you have to be somewhat with it to play bingo. I can barely get through bingo. So
he was very, I met him. What a wonderful man. Very smart. And he had his mental state. He was 91, right?
he was 91.
I mean, that's incredible right there.
And what's very difficult, and I'm still struggling with it, it just happened, 2 days ago. Not even.
Can't even believe you're here, really.
I know. And the struggle was he was still somewhat cognizant mentally, but his body was struggling. And we made the choice, and primarily me, we made the choice to take off his oxygen. And to this minute, I think, should we have done that? So that's why we decided to have on Dr. Michelle Cohen. Is she with us?
I sure am. Hi, guys.
Hi.
Hi.
Thank you for joining us. I have been struggling with that. My sister came in.
Aw.
Thank you.
Yeah.
She came in for that day, and we talked to doctors, and they said, yes, you can do that, or just wait it out. And we chose to let him go in peace and take off his oxygen. So I want your thoughts. I'm sure you've had plenty of clients who've done that and
Yeah.
felt a little funny about it. I thought I'd feel more at peace, and I don't. I feel sad because I thought, oh, what if maybe this time again he would have been okay? So that's got to be common, right?
Sure. I understand, that feeling. I actually experienced the same thing. So I kind of know, personally and also as a therapist what you're going through. So, and by the way, Deborah, I just wanted to say I'm so sorry for your loss.
Thank you.
And wow, I really commend you for having the strength to talk about it on the air so soon, in order to help listeners. So
I think so.
bless
I think
you
it's
for doing
important
that,
that people know, because I always feel like if I'm struggling with somebody else out there is too. And
Sure.
And we don't talk about
Sure.
death a lot. I mean, it's not a pleasant subject, but we all go through it, and
No.
we need help. That's the thing. You need help.
It's
to
really
help.
true. We really do. And no matter what kind of a relationship really that we've had with our parents, good or bad or not so great, there's always a worry about, their loss. We always worry about what's going to happen or how are we going to feel. And especially in your case, where you made that decision to let him go. And we don't know about, their suffering. But I mean, there is guilt involved, and there is discomfort, and, there's so many different feelings when that happens. So we can't really predict how we're going to feel. But I think the most important, be gentle on ourselves and say, we decided this was probably the best thing to do, and I would probably want it for me too.
Well, I have a little bit of a funny story to tell you about it. My sister came in that morning, Monday morning. I said, you really, really have to get here. So she got here.
Yeah.
And we were both in the hospital, and we met with the team who helps you, decide should you do that or should you not. And we said, all right,
Sure.
we're going to start the morphine drip. So we did. And about, I don't know, 10 minutes later, I looked at my sister and I said, I think we're making a mistake. So I ran out. This is almost a little humorous, okay?
Goodness.
I ran out into the hallway and I said, can we stop this?
Oh, my.
And I said, I need to talk to a priest. And then my sister, who is Jewish, she married a Jewish guy, so she practices Judaism. She said, I need a rabbi. So here we are. This is true. So she's running out to find a rabbi. I'm looking for the priest. My dad's on a morphine drip. And I said, can we just hold this for a minute? And I thought, for goodness sakes, if this, and then I felt badly for that because I thought, oh my gosh, can you just make up your mind what you're doing here? But I just needed a second set of reassurances because I thought, there's no turning back. No. And, they're somewhat amusing in a way.
Your father would laugh. He would laugh.
He'd be like, you're kidding.
These are my daughters. What?
And we decided ultimately to continue, but to continue with what we thought was best. But what do you say to people who are faced with making that decision? You always hope that they would just sort of go peacefully on their own.
Sure.
Walk into the next room and you find them, reading a book quietly passed away. But that's not the way I got it. And what do you say to people who are faced with these decisions?
Well, I always say that, discuss it. If you have other siblings and other family members, sort of everybody has to sort of share their thoughts and feelings. And other people will have their own opinions. So you have to sort of, realize that you might be doing the best thing for them. And again, stress, what would they want? What would they want? So this is what I tell people.
I squeezed my dad's hand and I said, Dad, do you want to go up there with Mom? And he said, no. I thought, uh-oh. And then, no, really. But his body was going. And then I said, do you want to stay here with us? And he said, And that's when I thought, Deborah, what are you doing? But the doctor said he's
in and out of consciousness.
He's in and out of consciousness.
Right.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So either he knew what he was saying at the moment or he didn't. And that's where I know my own guilt is coming in because I feel badly about that.
Of course.
What do you say to those family members or me?
Yeah. Right. So, we never really know, Deborah. I mean, we can always guess. And I went through almost exactly the same thing with my dad. And he was on morphine and in and out. And, I luckily had a really cool sister. I still do, like you. And we discussed it. And we discussed it with Mom. And it was like, you know what? We can't really guess what's going on. We know he's very sick. He's in discomfort. He's in constant pain. And this is probably what he would tell us if he could be articulate. I really do want to, go up there with my dad, or I really do want to go wherever with my relatives, and I'm just not comfortable here in this body anymore. So we'll never ever know, and we can second guess ourselves and drive ourselves and others, crazy and feel guilt, but it just isn't doing us any good, basically, is what I tell them. And I'm not saying, yes, be cold-hearted about it. But what I'm saying is, at some time we have to really make sure that what they had expressed in their wishes are going to come true.
Yeah, that's the thing. He had nothing
suffering.
Expressed. My parents were kind of the old school folks from Italian,
Right.
and it's like, I don't want to talk about it. Those kind of people.
That's how,
Yeah.
And he really had hardly any, he didn't have any provisions really. He's like, oh, do what you want. I don't care. That was my dad.
Right.
So, and that's something to be said. You can't do that to your kids. You can't just go, oh, just leave it. I'm going to make sure everything is, is so in place. I kind of already have because you can't leave that up to somebody else.
Right. You don't want to put the pressure on your kids later.
Exactly.
Didn't your dad go peacefully?
My dad died
it was a shock,
of a heart attack.
Oh.
And within, I talked to him, let's say at 9:30 in the morning, and dead the minute after I hung up. I mean, it was terrible. And it was right before his 80th birthday. So he was fairly young, and it's a jolt to your system. That's all I have to say.
Right.
I felt like somebody rocked my world, and it took me 2 years to function. So the fact that Deborah's sitting here right now, I mean, I was in so much pain. I was hardly even functioning.
Yeah.
It took me 2 years.
Well, I remember when my mom went, I was able to process and do all this. I just showed up, but I was doing things, and then I crashed after.
Yeah.
So get with me in a couple
Yeah.
of weeks. At least that's my way.
Yeah.
Just get right to it.
Everyone's different too.
Everybody's a little
They don't-
different.
Some people want people around them, and some people want their
Right.
space. And so that's another thing. Like Deborah's, when your father passed, I saw him the day before in
Yeah,
the
you did.
hospital, and you don't know what to do. Like, for me, I need a little space. So I gave her space, but maybe that was the wrong thing.
I like people around
Yeah,
me.
see?
I almost need it. And I had a friend call me, a couple of friends, and they said, "What are you doing?" I said, "Well, he's kind of passing." And they said, "We'll be right there."
Yeah.
And they actually came in there, and he was
Aw.
going. And then
Yeah, I
they were
think-
there when he
Yeah.
was gone. And then we were actually in the room kind of laughing, not at him, but,
Yeah,
just
right.
in general.
Yeah.
And then my sister was in there, and I said,
Right.
I hope this is okay. Is this like okay to be sitting here and having a mini party in the hospital? And
Well,
it almost
yeah.
it just felt right. It was organic. It felt like the right thing to do.
Right. But that was right for
That's
you.
exactly right.
Right. It might not be right for
No.
somebody else.
See, like for me, I'm the opposite. I don't want anyone around me. In fact, when my father passed away, he was taken to the hospital, and that's where I got the news. So I get to the hospital. This is in Ohio, and I see him there, and I walked out, and I see all this commotion. I'm in the emergency room, and I started yelling at everyone. I said, "Do you know that my dad died? You need to stop it. You need to stop working. This is a big deal to me." I was really offended.
Aw.
So everyone
I
does
love
it
that,
differently.
but that's so you.
It is
And
so
me,
me.
I'll just start crying and say, "Oh yeah, come on down. Do you
Yeah.
need anything?" I'll yeah, bring me some food because I always have to eat. So you're right. Everybody's
Yeah.
different, and you have to know. I guess as a doctor, you have to know your patient. Like, how do they handle things, right? I mean, like if I came to
Absolutely.
you, you'd know that I'm that sort of person, and I take it so hard. Whereas
Exactly.
Linda would just shove him out the door.
Yeah, I'm yelling at people. Leave me alone. How dare you go about life normally? This is not a good day for that.
Right.
So-
And everybody has their own process. You guys are so right. And I tell, my own patients that we kind of think of the grieving process as like a roller coaster. It's like got ups
true.
and downs. And the ride is rougher at the beginning and lows may be deeper and longer, but it becomes a little better. But there's no right or wrong way of grieving. And like you guys said, some people really turn to friends and family members and get the support, and others just sort of, I need to process this alone and just kind of go away in my cave,
Right.
and think about this or not, and maybe draw comfort from faith. If there's a religious tradition, pray a lot, and ask for answers. Participate in spiritual activities. There really are a lot of things we can do, but there's no right or wrong thing. And don't let other people tell you guys what you should have done or what you shouldn't feel or what you should feel, because, there are stages, they say, but they don't go in any consecutive
I was
order.
just going to say that. Or what are the stages
Yeah.
of grief? Well, there's supposedly 7. I'm like,
Anger, right? It starts with
Yeah,
anger.
they have.
what are
right,
they?
that-
Can you?
Exactly.
Would you?
Well, they have.
This guy knows all
Go
this
ahead, I'm
stuff.
sorry.
He's so connected, right? John, our board op. He's amazing.
Yeah. Right, he is. He's really awesome.
Wait, he's got him up there. No, I can't
No.
really
I
see
can't
that
read
well.
because
I
I-
can't read him either. So we've got John. Yeah,
He'll
would
write
you?
'em.
Go ahead.
Okay, well, this is a bit of a
Doesn't
modified version, but it's denial, anger, bargaining,
Bargaining with who?
depression, and acceptance. So so there's 7 stages. So in this particular instance, it's shock, denial, anger, bargaining, depression, testing, and acceptance. But she would be the
Right.
expert.
What's
Yeah.
bargaining and
Yeah.
what's testing?
Bargaining. What are you bargaining?
Who
at
are
this
you
point?
bargaining with? Yourself, or can you answer that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So,
doctor.
did you want me to?
Yeah, I'd like you to. I mean, yeah. Can you answer to any of that? Because it's just I
yeah,
don't get it.
Totally. It's psychiatrists. You've heard Elizabeth Kubler-Ross. She sort of introduced what became known as the 5 stages of grief, and the acronym is DABDA, DABDA, and he's right, exactly. It's that denial, anger, bargaining is sort of like, oh please, it's a part of denial. Make this not happen, or if this person, maybe I can change this in some way, or there's that guilt, in the bargaining thing. That's maybe I should have, or
I'm
you
having
feel
a little
guilty
bit of
about
that.
things you did it right. So that's kind of the old school 5 stages, and they're normal and they're not in any particular order, but that was back in the late 60s. But the new school is more like shock and disbelief, which is denial. And we go through sadness, profound sadness, depression, emptiness, despair. We go through a lot of guilt. What I should have said, the most common thing I hear from people is, I should have been a better daughter.
No, that's
I
sad.
remember that time when I was so mad at him and I cussed him, whatever. It's like, stop.
I think I
Don't
was
go
such a
there.
good daughter. I have to
Yeah.
say, I took care of him day and night for a
Oh.
couple of years. I mean, I
Yes.
feel like I
And
did
even
so
before
much.
that, I
and
mean,
even
you-
before that, and he was, a
Yeah.
great guy, but he was a little cold and hard to get to know. Like a lot of men of
Sure.
that generation too. That's another
Yeah,
thing.
that's true.
They had to be very stoic.
Yeah.
They fought in the war and they saw a lot and they just had to keep it in.
Yeah.
And he was that kind of
Right.
dad.
They don't
He
show
was,
their emotions.
He was also an Italian dad, so he had that whole side to him too.
Right.
Cooking
Sure.
was a big deal.
Meatballs.
Right.
You've had his food, right? And
Yeah,
apple
he was
pies
just
and
look at him. He's so cute.
Right.
he's adorable. And those
Exactly.
are my 3 sons.
Aw.
They were just with him. I don't think you can see this, doctor, but they were just with him Thursday.
Yeah.
Two of them
Oh.
flew out of the country. That's another thing. My 2 older boys flew out of the country. They're doing a mission trip, of all things, in Sri Lanka. They flew out on Sunday, and my dad passed
Yeah.
away on Monday. So
That's
the
a lot.
first thing they did when they landed Monday was call me,
Yeah.
and they said, "How's Grandpa?" And I said,
Oh,
you know what was going to happen, right? But they
Yeah.
got to see them. I actually felt good about that. But once again, I'm feeling a little guilt because I'm thinking, are they okay over there on the other end of the world, worried about their grandpa? But
Aw.
that's for them to process
Yeah.
too, right? So
sure it is. Absolutely, and they do. Everybody needs to process stuff in their own way. And, we always worry about what our other family members are going through, but we
Right.
really have to take care of ourselves as well. We have to, we have to, first of all, allow ourselves to go through whatever these stages are. And they change. We go through anger, we'll go through fear, a bunch of worries and fears about other people or, and, sometimes we get physical symptoms too. I mean, a lot of people feel things in their gut, or we have panic disorder sometimes. There are a lot of physical, we feel lethargic, we go into depression. There's so many things, that can happen physically too. So it's just a matter of allowing ourselves to feel what we need to feel when we need to feel it, and know that this too can pass in its own time. And if it takes 2 years, like you said, that's okay too, or 3 or 4. It may never pass, but at least it gets.
My
can
God,
cope.
sense
You can
to where,
cope.
I'm going to end up with a whole decade
yeah.
like this. I mean, I had, grieving
Right.
grieving over her for 2 years, and
Your
now him
mother.
or 2 or 3,
Yeah.
and now him another 2 or 3. I'm just going to
Sure.
age through this whole thing, and then,
Yeah.
and then I'm really not going to do myself a service. I don't know. There's also a little bit of relief. See, you didn't have that because your dad, who was like a comrade, he was a friend, and he was
Right.
kind of in good health,
He was,
wasn't
Yeah.
he?
he was in perfect health,
Yeah.
and that's why it was hard.
I've
so-
also decided through this, there's never an easy way. One could be found just falling on the floor, or you pull a plug or whatever. And
Grief, yeah.
no matter how it is, it's difficult.
Grief is grief. I
Yeah.
mean, you lose someone, and you like you said, doctor, you have to process it. I also think you really have to be
Yeah.
good to yourself. Like, this is your time to nurture
Yeah.
yourself, and
Really is.
trust that. Be good to yourself.
Exactly. Yeah, and it's just when you say take care of yourself, I totally agree. I tell patients to just, besides expressing your feelings and allowing yourself to feel whatever you do, you got to look after your physical health too. We've got to get enough sleep. We've got to eat properly. Some of us just don't have an appetite, or we just want to
Ugh,
pig
that's
out.
never my problem.
And eat
It's like
every
mine
piece of
just
chocolate
increases.
in our house. Yeah, and you gotta lower your stress. Do all that stuff of the breathing or the relaxation exercises or the meditation. You just got to allow yourself to really at this time be physically healthy, because when our minds start going down, we start forgetting about what we need for our bodies too. So, boy, and when that happens, we're in bad shape. We can really be a mess.
I know for me, and probably you when this happened, I felt so
Yeah.
grateful that my friends were there when I didn't even ask. They just showed up or called
Aw.
or texted. And I think
Yeah.
that's the blessing in all this. The people who love you are there. No matter what, they just show up. They're there, whether it's, like I said. And I think that's a real blessing because it just shows that the people that you've had some kind of what am I looking to say? Connection with people, and they love you and they know you're hurting and they come right back. I mean, I'm amazed at the people who just showed up with food and everything else. I did not ask, and immediately. And for me, that's a blessing in all this. You know, people who just come and surround you. I think it's such a great thing. If people are lucky enough to have that, you know, some people don't even have that, and they're
would be
faced
tough
with it alone.
It's so true. Yeah.
So, any other parting words you can give us for people who, for me and other people who are going through something like that?
Sure. It's just, I think the most important is know that you will go through stages and know that it is sort of like a roller coaster. Other people are feeling their own feelings too. So, that sort of gives us comfort in that, we know that close friends and family members are suffering too. So get that support.
That's true.
And,
because John was
take care of yourself.
John was really short. My husband, and I don't mean in stature. I mean, he was just very short the past day or two. And I'm like, geez. But, he was really took care of my dad. He would show up when I just couldn't do it. He would show up in the middle of the night. He would show up at 2 a.m. when we would get a call that he fell on the floor. He was really there for him. And it's true. People go through their grieving in totally different ways. And it's true. You got to respect that.
Right. You've got to respect it. And some people do, they push it down. We suppress our feelings in order to, like your husband, get through and power through and have that, I'm going to be more of a caregiver and take care of business, philosophy. I'm going to be that guy or that girl. And, that's fine. You shove it down. That's cool because you're the stronger one. But those people who shove it down also get to allow themselves to feel at some time, They may be taking care of business now, but they get to feel as well, and we need to allow them to do that too. So,
how about you? Are you have you made your peace with Dad?
You know what? I had a great relationship with my dad. It wasn't until I saw the butterfly. I know it sounds crazy, but when
what is it about this butterfly?
I saw a butterfly. I was not good for 6 months, and then I saw a butterfly that I know was my dad. I mean, I know the doctors probably thinks I'm insane. But people, you could see a bird or a butterfly, and I know it was him.
John, you're shaking your head.
I know
John,
people think I'm nuts.
No, he does not. No, he doesn't.
No, not at all. No,
Okay.
Actually, I think the butterfly is a sign of rebirth. So, so if you look at this caterpillar stage, and then the butterfly is the rebirth.
He's free
going through the cocoon. And yeah, exactly.
I got the message that he's happy where he is, and it was at that point that I could function. It was just
okay. When my mom went, I remember there were a slew of white butterflies trying to get into the screen door in Florida, a whole pile of them. And I'm thinking, well, she always had a lot of energy, so maybe they're just all trying to get in. My dad, so yesterday when I was just sitting out in my yard looking out up, there was this one little white butterfly. There were always those little white ones,
Right.
And I thought, that's you. I just know it. I don't know. Maybe that's completely insane, but
I don't think
if you look at it that way and you feel that way, it does give you a sense of peace and comfort. So we come back as butterflies. Is that what we're saying?
Or a bird. They can be different. I mean, it's to tell you they're okay.
Yeah.
And I do believe in that.
We look for signs from the universe sometimes to comfort us, and that's okay. Whatever however we can feel better and. Just allow ourselves to go. I think faith is really important too. Whatever your faith is or whatever, I think, meditating or, whatever, I think that's a comforting, element as well. And I think it's really important we do that. So,
what do you say to when you are having a tough time getting together with family members who are all over the place? That's my next stage that I'm about to face. I've got one over here, one over there, and everyone who wants to be in Florida at the same time but can't get there. How do you handle something like that?
Right. In other words, you're sort of trying to help them, but they can't come out to see you.
No, just for a burial, for a funeral. People can't get together, and then people are saying, "Oh, maybe we should wait a year or 6 months." And I'm thinking, "Uh-oh, now what?"
Right.
So that's a whole nother part when people are all over the country.
Right.
What do you say to family members who are trying to get it together but can't?
Sure, of course, and I know they'd like to come, and maybe you can chat with whoever that person is who was the conservator or the trustee or whoever was at the time, and just say, you and your sis can sit down and decide what would be the best thing for everybody. You can put it out there. I would say what works for you, what might work for you. But we would really like to. I don't know whatever he requested, whether he wanted to be cremated or whatever the burial thing. But I think you get to decide, and you get to decide, and this is what's happening now, and you make plans and you try to accommodate everybody, but you can't. You can't always do that. So you have to just kind of make a decision and say, this is what's going to be happening. This is where it's happening. We'd love you to be here. Otherwise,
well, it's just the two of us is what it comes down to. And I know that the two of us are having not bad issues, but just issues figuring it out. And I'm thinking, so what do we do? Just wait until everybody can do it? Or I'm the one who's kind of decides that? Or do you just say, this is the way it's going to be? Because you don't want to have to do that to somebody either. That's a whole.
No, exactly. And I think it's fair to put out to those other relatives, what time frame would work for you? When do you think you could get out here? When do you think would be the best time for you? Because we're trying to work with everybody, and we love you, and we want you involved, and we know that you're suffering as well. And so what might work for you? Because we want to respect that. And just sort of see if someone can come, if they can all come together on a nearby date or what works for you, and say, yes, we're willing to do it, whatever, X amount of whatever, a month from now or whatever, and you and your sis decide what might be okay. And again, you don't have to, you're the ones that are responsible out here right now. So you get to choose what's, really sensible, with loving care with the family as well. But it all comes down to, you can't always accommodate everyone because everyone has their own time frame and things.
But that's
like
a whole
that.
other set of complications. In other words, there's so much involved when a person
Sure.
goes through this. For all of us,
Yeah.
John, have you been through this, or are you fortunate enough you have?
Oh yeah, I've been through it. Yeah, my father passed away when I was 18, so
You were young.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's a lot.
were
But
young.
but I do have to say, at the end of it all, and it hasn't even been quite 2 days, I do come out feeling blessed about it. More depressed yesterday, and today I woke up feeling kind of blessed just to be surrounded by the good people. If anybody can find that in their heart, that's so important. But thank you for being on.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm just going to say some final words maybe about my dad and your dad. And so thank you, Doctor.
Thank
you
you.
very much.
My pleasure, guys. Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
So John, you lost your dad when you were 18.
Yeah, when I was 18. Yeah.
That must have been tough. That's a tough age.
That's
you
a
know.
really tough age.
Yeah, it was right after
College
high school.
or-
yeah,
high school,
right after
yeah.
high school. Well, I actually started college when I was in high school, so the last 2 years. So, but yeah, it's kind of crazy. But it started the rebirth for me and moving to California because I was in Ohio for
Ohio.
Another
Boy.
Ohio
Okay.
guy.
Yeah,
She is too.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Cool.
Zanesville, Ohio.
See, something good will always come out of it. I really do believe that.
Yeah.
And
And it was my dad and my grandmother, so it's just boom, boom,
Wow.
right after. Yeah. And so then I moved to California and a whole new life.
probably
I've been here
thought-
longer than Ohio
Oh
now.
wow. Yeah, so you probably thought now's my when you face death, you realize life's short and I got to make my move. I got to do what I need to do. So that way it benefits, keeps you moving forward.
Yeah.
but
definitely.
do we have a couple pictures we can pop up
course,
about
yeah.
my dad? And I don't know if we can play Mario Alonso really low under this. I'm not sure if we're capable of doing that. But he loved the opera. He loved it.
I can try to get some.
He was a World War II vet. Oh, there
World
we
War
go.
II. Wow. That's great.
And he was an incredible ballroom dancer. The man
Really?
ended up getting drafted to the war, so he never went to college. And he probably should have gone to study dancing. He was an incredible dancer and a great singer. He loved the
Really?
opera. But he ended up working at Tropicana, the orange juice people. So when I was a kid, we moved to Florida. And he and my mom had a really good life. They fought every day, every minute of the day about cooking and meatballs and
Really?
spaghetti. And it was a kind of a chaotic household for that reason, but really loving. Just think of all those movies, whether it's Moonstruck or whatever. The
Colorful.
people- colorful.
Right.
I swear it's a generation that's going to go bye-bye because it was just a certain time in life.
That makes me sad because
So, I mean,
colorful-
I don't fight with my husband over meatballs, other things, but not meatballs. So, I was happy to have him and happy to care for him. And There he is with his caretaker, Dan.
Okay.
He was such a lovely, he is a lovely man. He's been texting me pictures all day. I have to tell you, he may be the most upset of all. He loved my dad. He's a very spiritual guy. He's a great guy. And that's in our kitchen. I only just tossed together a couple pictures
Sure,
that were in my
yeah.
phone, frankly.
it's okay.
I don't take a lot of pictures. So I just want to say to anybody who's struggling out there and who's suffering that you can get through it and just find the little things and
The memories.
make peace.
Yeah.
Yeah. And anyway, thanks for joining us today on the special edition dedicated to Anthony Zahara.